What is going on, guys? DBG here, and today, again, we've got no internet, so we're going to be talking about the top 10 free cards throughout NBA 2K22 MyTEAM, lads. So these are going to be how good they were for their time. Because one thing normally with free cards is they don't stand the test of time well. That's just kind of a given when it comes to free cards, is that they do not stand the test of time well. Because if free cards suddenly were like the longevity award winners, then like, I mean, it would be kind of crazy. So, these cards were really just good for their time, pretty much all of them. Very few of these are good right now, but we are going to be looking at the, I know it's better. We're going to be looking at the entire year, lads. So before we get on to it, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. I'm trying 300,000 subscribers as soon as possible, lads. Apologies about the lack of content the last few days. It's very difficult to make content when, well, you just don't have internet. Simple as that. It's very difficult to make content. We're trying to hit 293,000 or 297,000 subscribers as soon as possible. And yeah, so anyway, now let's get on to it. Our honorable mention I would put as this Chris Webber. A really good card, 100 win card, one of the best small forwards in the game. The issue is that when he came, by the time he came out, people like really got him. He wasn't probably third, fourth best in his position, but now he's probably like fifth, sixth best. Where some of these guys had that little bit more longevity than him. So, first up, at number 10, we have got Stevie Francis. So, Steve Francis came out at a time when no point guards could dribble. So, he had an 86 3-ball, couldn't get range, but he had hot spots all outside the three-point line, a really solid release for its time, shifty dribble style. Obviously, it's not quick, but he had the Stevie size up, and he had the Scotty behind the back. So we were looking at this insane card. And the big thing is, you're like, oh, how'd you get him? You had to win, I think it was 10 games in a row of TT offline, but if you were about to lose and you closed app, you didn't get the loss, so it was just winning 10 games of TT online. Basically, everyone wanted this card, got this card. And the big thing with Steve Francis was, this card was out before the left-right patch. So you could laterally burst. You guys came to the game now. You guys don't know about the real left-right. The real left-right before it got patched. If you want to complain about it now, the way it got patched was before it got patched, it was an absolute joke. But at the same time, this card, the reason why this card is so low, he'd be way higher if the left-right wasn't patched a grand total of 5 days after this card came out. We had 5 days as this is the unanimous best point guard in my team, and then by the end of those 5 days, he was maybe the 7th or 8th best point guard in my team. So, at number 9, Fernando Martinez. Fernando Martinez, I had him slightly above Chris Webber. For the reason that Fernando Martinez, it was like 2 weeks after Fernando Martinez came out, we had like Bobby Jones stuff, we were comparable. Whereas 2 weeks after, or 1 week after Webber came out, we had Giannis. But other than 3-ball, perfect stats. Like, this card came out on the 20th of May, and at this stage, he was almost as good as this invincible Giannis. And probably better than Hero Giannis. He was really, really good. Lads, I do want to apologize. I have to put on this. It is a damn heat wave in here. Houses are built in Ireland to keep heat in and not let heat out. I am struggling. I'm struggling. I gotta get this video and another video out today. I am struggling badly. But Rudy Gay base, Steph Curry upper, quick dribble style. He had Trey escape with Stevie size up, Scotty behind the back. The card was absolutely ridiculous for his time. I'm gonna turn off video capture. He was absolutely ridiculous for his time and is the number 9 card in this list. At number 8, we have got Devin Booker. Devin Booker, again, a really nice card. A player that is going to shoot the lights out. The reason why Devin Booker is higher than these guys, despite never being like the number 1 player in his position, is you literally typed in an locker code for this guy, and he's top 5, top 6 2-guard on current gen. Even in the current endgame era, the guy is still more than usable. Obviously, movement-wise, it's not like he's going to be God tier or anything, but he's perfectly fine, hard to contest, and Booker's a really, really good card. So he's in here at number 8. At number 7, we got Bob Pettit from the original Domination. So this card was available on day 1. And this was a stage where there were no real stretch bigs. Everyone was using Serge Ibaka. And this guy was the best center in my team. He was basically the only center that could do anything with Dikembe. So there was a Dikembe Mutombo card and a Wilt card and a Shaq card. Wilt was the unlimited reward. Shaq was a card that was like 200k, and then Dikembe Mutombo was like 450, 500k at that stage. And those cards right there were literally like the just god tier cards. If you didn't have the MT, you were using Ruby Dikembe or Ruby or Amethyst Gilmore, and you were getting your ass handed to you. However, if you wanted to zag, instead of zigging and using big man, you could zag and pick and pop. Bob Pettit was the only true pick and pop big in the game at that time because he had set shot 14. He could handle it a little bit because he had a pretty nice between the legs. He had a nice crossover, and despite having the like 72 ball handle at that time of the game, it was really, really nice. He moved fast. Yeah, his lateral quickness was terrible. Did not matter for his time. Does he suck now? Yeah, but on day one, this guy was a beast, and even coming into season 2, he was really good. Around Christmas-ish was when he really began to struggle. Like when we got the likes of Mike and Durant, and Garnett and David Robinson. Yeah, his time probably wasn't then, but for the first 6 weeks of this game, this is one of the best bigs in the game, and you get him from domination. Then we had, this is going to be a card that a lot of people forget, Larry Hughes. Larry Hughes was him when he came out. So his release wasn't great. It was the Mobley release, but it's a lot better. It was a lot better on Hughes because he's smaller. He had the Kyrie Panda which wasn't great. He had a shifty dribble style, T-Max size up, which at the time was perfectly good for a point guard. He was also 6'5". Again, this was an era where we did not have tall point guards. This was an era where people were running with Bob Sura as their like legit point guard. He was not only free, you were able to get him by playing the game for 20 minutes. And look at these defensive stats. These defensive stats wouldn't look out of place in today's game. That's how good they were. And in terms of defense, back then, the most important defensive badge was Half Interceptor. Hardly any cards had that badge. If you put that badge on a card, it was worth 200k at this time. Because what Half Interceptor used to do was, your players used to fly around the court. You know the animations now where they dive in lane, they tap the ball back to your opponents? They were auto steals. The Half Interceptor badge was the biggest joke in all of my team up until about February. Like, you would press the square button with a guy with Half Interceptor and they just wouldn't pass. I remember I used to run with a lineup of, I can't remember, I think it was Caruso. Yeah, Caruso's maxed out card had Half Interceptor. I used to play in clutch time when that game first came out with Caruso, Kevin Garnett, who had Half Interceptor. I'm trying to think who else had it. Eddie Jones had Half Interceptor. Oh, so Cliff Robinson. Cliff Robinson had Half Interceptor. I used to run with Kevin Garnett, Cliff Robinson, Mikal Bridges, Eddie Jones, and what's his name? Alex Caruso. And I used to just off-ball in the center, play it smaller than I, and they would just dive in every single lane and get every single ball. It was a stupidly overpowered badge for his time. Obviously been nerfed. This guy wouldn't be great in today's game, but he was great for his time in January. Then we had James Harden from Season 1. So this card came out with the Flash packs. Flash 2 as far as I'm aware. Yeah. And if you look at this set right here, he wasn't terrible, Dennis Rodman. But the third best player in this set, maybe the second best. Isaiah Thomas was a beast. AD was good. But Harden was so good. What you got with Harden was, you got the kind of first time we really saw the Harden shuffle on a good card. He had all these basic dunks and the Harden dunks. He couldn't be blocked, and this was a stage where everyone was getting blocked. Harden dribble style was like a mixture between fundamental and quick. So he didn't get the quick shifty bursts, the like bursts we all know of, but when he bursted out of something, he bursted super fast. It was like a better fundamental. His badges, he couldn't add badges to him, but he came with all the like good shooting badges on at least silver. And a lot of decent defensive badges like Clamps, Post, Intimidator. He was basically the same as this card right here. Except you could add badges to this card right here, and these were two of the best cards in the game. Like, Harden was him. Harden really was him. This was a free card, and at this time, you could actually probably make the argument he was the #1 shooting guard in the game on October the 8th. I think we had Dunktober Kobe, and we had Dunktober Vince Carter, but I think you would actually make the argument that Harden was better than both of them, which was crazy. And Harden, for me, Harden was in my squad when I got Gary Payton from Season 2. Then at number 4, we have Bob Nedelicki. A card that is still usable. A card that came out in Season 6. Bob Nedelicki might even be too low here at 4. I'm trying to think. Is he too low at 4? No, I'm happy with my guys. But Bob Nedelicki was the first time we saw what set shot 25 was on a player. A card that is still more usable to this day. Ridiculous defense. Like solid, really good badges. Quick first step. Like this card was the best power forward in the game for quite a while. And he's still one of the more... He's still a completely usable power forward in my team. Like I put the guy... I'm pretty sure I put him in A tier. He is a top 7 or 8 power... He's a top 10 power forward in the game. The guy is, in my opinion, a top 50 card. I'll probably make a top 100 list. I will probably make a top 100 list like next Wednesday. Because like, assuming my internet's not going to be fixed, I got a lot of stuff to do. I had a lot of stuff to do. But hence why we haven't seen any 30-day series. My internet's been down for 4 days. But number 3, we got Jason Tatum. This was the best small forward in the game when he came out. Again, you look at his defensive stats. Huff interceptor. He came out the same day as Larry Hughes. Players used him on ball. Like Splash ran him when he qualified for 250. This card had 15 huffs, 92 speed, 92 acceleration, 94 3 ball. Ridiculous defensive stats. He had no real flaws other than like base dribble style, which at the time wasn't the end of the world. He had the Curry behind the back, which obviously is not great. But he did a base 107, the normal leaner, and he had base 107 on quick. Which at that time in the game, as far as I'm aware, the only player with it on that was, I think Doug West was out before him. Yeah, Doug West is the only player in the game with 107 on quick before that. Because Jason Tatum's first card came with set shot 34, which was one of the worst releases in the game. So they upgraded Jason Tatum's release. The problem is they shortened his wingspan. So there's a version of him, isn't there? Yeah, so he had a 6'11 wingspan on his pink diamonds. On his this pink diamond. And then they shortened his wingspan back down to 6'8", which was a little bit annoying. But no, Tatum, absolutely incredible card. And I think he deserves his spot just about over Nedelicki at number 3. Number 2. There was a time when we thought it was GG's. Basically, we thought that Yao and Taco coming out. They came out last week of Season 6. Taco came out. Oh no, actually, sorry. Yao came out second last week of Season 6 with Flash Glitched packs. Flash Glitched packs. And then, second week of Season 7, we had Taco fall. And we thought Taco and Yao were going to run the damn game. And then the next week, right after Taco, we got a free Manute Bol. This was a card that kept no money spent players in with a chance. Sure, he wasn't the best at his position, but he was the number 3 center in the game at that time. He's 7'7" guy that could shoot the ball with 80 speed and really good defensive stats and badges. He was just too tall. He was just way too tall. Manute Bol played lanes well. He shot the ball well. He was a big man. And the biggest thing was that when you have Manute Bol on your team, you weren't screwed when you came up against Yao Ming, or you weren't screwed when you came up against Taco. Which, up until Manute Bol came out, you pretty much were screwed unless you decided to run. Unless you were running like a Kareem. You were basically screwed against either of those two guys. Because I can't even remember who my center was before Manute Bol, but it was someone small, definitely. And number 1, a guy who was not only the best point guard in the game for the entire season, he was a reward. He was the best point guard in the game for the entire next season. Or most of the next season. I'm not going to say the entirety of the next season. Let me think. Was he? Need to check again on Season 3. He was in the debate. He was definitely in the debate because there was a damn good John Wall card. There was a really good John Wall point guard card. But I still think even through the end of Season 3, when this card came out, Magic Johnson, Steph Curry, I still think you could argue he's the best point guard in the game, Gary Payton. Gary Payton, Scotty behind the back, shifty dribble style, okay release. Oh yeah, semi-drive dunk, but he had unblockable dunks. At this stage, he had all these ridiculous defensive badges. No half interceptor though. Really good shooter, 6'4", which was a good height for the time for a point guard at the time. Gary Payton was him. And people that did not play this game from October to January don't know how good Gary Payton was. Gary Payton was the best point guard, and it was not even close. There were no alternatives. There were 5 days where Steve Francis, because of his Steve Francis size up on the left-right, because like having shifty versus quick when the left-right was a thing, because you never had to like switch back the opposite directions like you can to do a quick crossover instead of shifty. You've never triggered a shifty crossover because you just left-right all the time. But Gary Payton was the best point guard in the game for 2 seasons, pretty much, for at least 10 weeks. At least 10 weeks, and for that reason, he has to be number 1. So yeah, that's the 10. Honorable mention, Chris Webber. Number 10, Steve Francis. He would be higher if the left-right didn't get patched straight away. Number 9, Fernando Martinez. He would, again, if we didn't get better cards straight away, he was unbelievable when he came out. Then we had Devin Booker. Maybe not as good as a locker code card. And the only other like real good locker code card we had was Kyrie, and Booker was way better. Best big man in the game for most of season 1. Or best center in the game for most of season 1 if you wanted a popper, or best popper in the game, not best center, because there were a lot of good season 1 centers. Best popper in the game for almost all of season 1, great card. Larry Hughes, one of the best point guards in the game when he came out. Half interceptor back when half interceptor mattered, and he was super easy to get. James Harden, again, win 5 games of unlimited. You could do it over an unlimited amount of time as far as I'm aware. Just a ridiculous card. Season 1, best 2 guard in the game probably when he came out, or at least in the debate. I mean, Bob Nedelicki, the best power forward when he came out, no debate. It's just, I don't know, these top 4 could be in almost any order. Bob Nedelicki, Jason Tatum, best small forward in the game when he came out, and he wasn't a difficult grind. Manute Bol, massive big man in the game, still usable to this day. And Gary Payton, just the damn best. And that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.